Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel Bold and Beautiful today. Is Jack, Brooke's missing son, headed to Los Angeles? According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, B&B, Nick Marone has returned to Los Angeles. More recent fans might not be aware that he and Brooke Logan have a son named Jack. Jack, who is in his 20s, was brought up by Nick. Here are some facts regarding this mysterious character and if he will be appearing on the show. Nick Marone and Brooke Logan are parents to a son. Nick kissed Brooke in her pants when he strolled into FC last week. Nothing beats spending a little time with Sob in the afternoon. Many people found out that Brooke has another son she ignores since she asked Nick about him, despite the fact that she doesn't discuss Jack. Perhaps this is due to the strangeness of it all? The woman who gave birth to Jack in the past was Taylor Hayes. It's far more bizarre than that. She wasn't a gestational carrier in the manner you're thinking. Taylor gave birth to Jack. In 2007, Taylor Hayes used Brooke's egg to conceive Nick's kid, Jack. Taylor became pregnant with her enemy's fertilized egg after her embryos got mixed up with those of Jack's biological mother, Brooke. After attempting to build a relationship with Jack, Taylor ultimately gave him to Nick and Brooke to raise. Jack Marone was last seen by fans of The Bold and the Beautiful between 2010 and 2011. What do we now know about Jack, then? Brooke is the mother of Jack. Nick informed Brooke that Jack inherits his mother's traits rather than his father's. Brooke works as a fashion worker and chemist, while Jack is a marine dog. Nick claims that Jack has his mother's interest in design. Additionally, we discovered that Brooke uses video chatting to communicate with Jack, something the program never does. Viewers of The Bold and the Beautiful also learned that Jack is employed in Paris by the Forrester family. Surprise, surprise. Nick resents Ridge. This would be the ideal moment to introduce Jack on screen because he works at FC and has a passion for fashion. Will Jack soon be on television? B&B's supervising producer, Casey Kasperzik, says not. According to him, there are no plans for him to return to the show. Fans appear to be thrilled that Jack Wagner, star of The Bold and the Beautiful, is returning as Nick Marone. He talked candidly about what it's actually like to be an actor on a soap opera in a recent interview this week. He discussed the unexpected bad habits that even the most seasoned actors might learn from the fast-paced format. A few things I've learned. According to reports on June 17, Jack was quite open about his acting and acknowledged that he wasn't great. After more than 10 years away, the soap opera veteran, who was well known for his parts on General Hospital, Melrose Place, and B&B, made a significant comeback this week. However, returning to the world of daytime television came with certain lessons he had picked up along the way. Wagner claims that the propensity to go overboard is one of the main problems soap actors deal with. He acknowledged that early in his career, he was always moving, projecting, and employing excessive emotion. You learn to inflect everything, he told the source. It's like, okay, you're a little busy here, Jack, if you watch it, he said in jest. Attempting to be more authentic. Wagner claims that after working in theater and film, he is now more interested in honest reactions and organic performances. He attributes his development as an actor to his time away from the soap opera industry. He was able to calm down, hone his skills, and discover the value of listening in a situation there. Wagner also provided fans an inside look at how soap operas are made, revealing that actors frequently shoot an incredible number of lines in a single day. He remarked, "You don't have time to think. You need to move fast." Returning to B&B, Jack Wagner opens up about his bad habits. Despite feeling hot, I'm glad to be back. Wagner says he's excited to return to The Bold and the Beautiful despite the strain. It feels like home to play Nick Marone once more, and he can't wait to get back together with his longtime co-stars and tell stories that appeal to the audience. Since not all of them acknowledge that they have dealt with anything challenging at work, the actor's open assessment of the highs and lows of daytime TV seems to be extremely honest. Jack Wagner, who has worked as an actor for decades, said that it's never too late to alter your style in front of the camera. Speculation and spoilers. Nick's sudden return is most likely igniting intense turmoil and possibly some romance. When Brooke Logan's life is a little rough, her ex-boyfriend Nick makes a comeback. Ridge Forrester had already spotted her and Nick together. Brooke is turning to Nick for solace because her relationship with Ridge is once again in jeopardy. They have always had a close relationship, and it appears that they will quickly return to their previous routines. That recognizable spark is undoubtedly still present, and it might inspire Brooke to think of a whole other course of action. Is Nick really the man she was destined to be with? Brooke might start to doubt whether Ridge is indeed her lifelong partner after Nick returns. With someone who has always supported her, is it time to alter her future? In addition, he was upset over Nick's reappearance. How do you feel about Jack Wagner being so open about the challenges of working in a high-pressure setting on soap operas instead than movies? Nick Marone grabs Katie Logan's attention. According to spoilers for this week's episode of The Bold and the Beautiful, Jack Wagner will continue to play Nick Marone in Los Angeles. According to soap opera teasers, Nick will express his desire for Brooke Logan to return, but one of his other ex-girlfriends may have other ideas. Here are some spoilers for what will happen next on Bold and Beautiful. According to BMB spoilers, passions will ignite between Nick Marone and Brooke Logan once more, despite their complex romantic past. However, before the pair formally reunites, there might be some challenges. Brooke and Nick face challenges. When Ridge Forrester got envious that his half-brother was back in town, it became evident that he still harbored affections for Brooke. Although Ridge was completely happy with Taylor Hayes, he doesn't want Brooke to move on either and will cause problems for her and Nick. According to previews on The Bold and the Beautiful, Ridge isn't the only person who could ruin Nick Marone and Brooke Logan's reunion. In reality, Brooke's sister, Katie Logan, had an affair with Ridge's brother, so she's not the only lady in Los Angeles who was married to the captain. After rejecting Bill Spencer's proposal of reconciliation, Katie Logan has remained unattached for some time. Heather Tom's character has finally returned to the dating scene, and she already looks particularly interested in Nick Marone's return to the area. She questioned her older sister about her plans with her ex-husband last week. Will the Logan sisters fight? Viewers haven't seen the Logan sisters fight over one of the men on Bold and Beautiful for a number of years. Will Katie make the decision to go after Nick Marone and challenge her sister? Taylor's last-ditch request. For the week of June 23, 2025, spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful have been released. Fans can anticipate that Will Spencer will trick Luna Nozawa. In the meantime, Ridge Forrester receives a marriage proposal from Taylor Hayes. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. The desperate proposal of Taylor Hayes. In the weekly preview segment, Taylor pops the question to Ridge. A woman proposing to a man is perfectly acceptable. This wasn't planned, though, and it appears to be a spontaneous response to Brooke's boasting about Ridge becoming envious of Nick Marone. It appears that someone will hear Taylor's suggestion. Prior to that, let's discuss Ridge's expression during the proposition. Unfortunately for Taylor, it appears that Ridge is uncomfortable rather than thrilled by Taylor's proposal of marriage. Because he doesn't want Taylor to experience broken heart syndrome once more, the designer may still say yes. The startling news of Nick Marone. Nick is probably the one who overhears the proposal. It is hinted that Brooke learns about the proposal via Nick. After being stunned by the news, the blonde inquires about Ridge's reaction. I can see Brooke consenting to give Nick another opportunity if Ridge says yes. In Ridge games, Nick deserves better than to be Brooke's jealous pawn. As Katie pushes Brooke to use Nick Marone to make Ridge envious, fans of The Bold and the Beautiful are furious. Being a pawn in their poisonous circle is not fair to Nick. Is this manipulation going to backfire? BMB spoilers, Brooke's jealous pawn in Ridge games is not enough for Nick. Fans of Bold and the Beautiful are watching something very nauseating happen in Los Angeles. Nick Marone has come back with the best of intentions, to assist Brooke Logan in ending her poisonous relationship with Ridge Forrester, which has lasted for decades. His prize? Being used as a pawn in the most cunning plot we've witnessed in a long time. Let's clarify one issue. This isn't romantic. This is the worst kind of manipulation. The first kiss that caused everything. Nick wasn't an unexpected arrival. The man returned to Los Angeles with the intention of becoming Brooke's true destiny, the one who doesn't ping-pong between two women. Right there at Forrester Creations, on June 17, he kissed Brooke passionately and assured her that he could be everything Ridge was never. Naturally, who entered at that same moment? Ridge. Because in the world of soap operas, timing is always perfect. Ridge's response was as foreseen as dawn. While rushing to Taylor Hayes to complain about it, he branded Nick a tool. The moment another man expresses interest in Brooke, the man who has been vacillating between two women for decades suddenly becomes possessive? Please. The true issue is Katie's toxic advice. However, this is where the situation becomes genuinely repulsive. Brooke is being deliberately encouraged by Katie Logan, the ostensibly rational Logan's sister, to use Nick in order to incite jealousy in Ridge. Take a moment to process that. As a calculated tactic, Katie is actually telling her sister to play with a nice man's emotions. Go on and find someone who chooses only you is an example of sisterly counsel that has vanished. Or break the poisonous pattern that has been ruining you for decades? Instead, we receive, make Ridge envious by using him. What is the behavior of this mature woman? Instead of being teenagers taking notes in class, these individuals should be adults managing a fashion empire. Nick is not just a prop in Brooke's endless Ridge drama, he is a real person with emotions. The pattern that no one wants to see. This is what makes the entire thing so unbearable to me. We are all aware of how this unfolds. Brooke is seen with another man by Ridge. Ridge suddenly realizes he can't live without her because he is jealous. Ridge uses loud declarations to get Brooke back. Ridge remains for around 5 minutes. When anything goes awry, Ridge returns to Taylor. For the following 30 years, rinse and repeat. It's not that hard, folks. The man has been utilizing the same motion since the 1980s. Let's include the gullible Nick in this mess, though. Let's use him as bait to get Ridge to react with his usual jealousy. Because that is unquestionably a sign of a mature, healthy relationship that is worth battling for, isn't it? For all the right reasons, Nick returned. Given Nick's sincere desire to assist Brooke, this is all the more tragic. In order to wake Brooke up from this toxic pattern with Ridge, the actor Jack Wagner disclosed that his character had come back. The man is attempting to provide her with a viable future. A partnership in which she is the sole female. Where she won't have to question whether her husband is having dreams about his former spouse. Where she may get his attention without having to compete with everyone. And how does Brooke intend to return her sincere concern and care? By employing him as a means of coercion to attract Ridge's interest. It's really disgusting. This mess is real victims. Let's discuss who actually loses in this situation. Nick's heart is going to be crushed once more. Recall that he has experience dealing with Brooke. Their marriage lasted from 2006 until 2007. Jack Marone is their shared son. There was genuine depth and significance to their relationship. However, Brooke rushed back to Ridge when the need arose. As usual. As always, if this deception plan is successful, she will. Someone who chooses him is what Nick deserves. Not a person who views him as a handy tool to incite jealousy in another man. He won't be dropped the moment Ridge crooks his finger. Brooke fans who want better for her are where? What I don't comprehend is this. Fans of Brooke should be pleading with her to forget about Ridge. They ought to want her to experience true, long-lasting happiness with a self-centered person. Someone who doesn't have a history of abandoning her for another woman over decades. However, no. They fear that crazy attempted murderer Taylor might have a little moment of peace with Ridge if Brooke truly matures and moves on. What the heck? If they think Taylor should win, then let him. Let her handle Ridge's indecisiveness and lack of feeling. Allow her to speculate as to when he will return to Brooke at the first hint of difficulty. Brooke and Nick might be developing a genuine relationship in the interim. Something founded on respect for one another and sincere emotions rather than manipulation and jealousy games. Adults don't handle relationships like this. The most annoying aspect? These are expected to be grown-ups. Brooke has grown children. She owns a profitable company. She has experienced relationship drama for decades. And this is her answer? Provoking her boyfriend's erratic jealousy by using an innocent person? A genuinely decent individual wouldn't harm another person in order to attract the attention of their destiny. A mature woman would realize that a man might not be worth keeping if you had to play games to keep him interested. As Nick heedlessly falls into the trap, sincerely thinking he might have a chance at happiness with Brooke, we witness Katie support this manipulation. The future is pathetic and predictable. We are all aware of the direction this is taking. Ridge will have a couple more encounters with Brooke and Nick. He will grow more and more envious. He will declare his affection or make a big gesture. Brooke will have her usual meltdown. Nick will feel used and heartbroken. Taylor is going to be ignored once more. And when Ridge decides he needs space, time to think, or whatever justification he comes up with this time, we'll be right back here in a few months. The cycle goes on. The motif is repeated. And in the process, decent people like Nick are crushed. Nick needs to be warned. Someone in Los Angeles needs to take Nick aside and tell him the truth if they have any morals. The man should be aware that he is being used as a prop in the never-ending drama between Brooke and Ridge. In an attempt to save Brooke from herself, he returned as a hero. Rather, he will soon become a victim of a deception that would make youngsters shudder. Nick is worthy of better. Instead of someone manipulating him to attract the attention of another man, he deserves someone who wants him. He is worthy of truthfulness, not deceit. He should not be used as a pawn in someone else's jealousy games. He deserves love. However, this is Bold and the Beautiful, where poisonous tendencies are praised and nice people are exploited. Where manipulating innocent people is accepted as a legitimate tactic and manipulation is referred to as fighting for love. It's repulsive. It's incorrect. And what is about to happen to Nick is so far from what he deserves. That morning, the sunlight streaming through the windows of the Forrester living room felt hollow, more like a false sense of warmth than the actual thing, and Taylor Hayes stood in the center of it, frozen in a reality that had just subtly rocked her world, again. No confession screamed in a moment of guilt, no passionate kiss caught in the shadows, no cataclysmic betrayal. No, it was far worse than that. It was subtly done. It moved slowly. There was no denying it. Ever perceptive, Taylor had noticed it in the way Ridge said Brooke's name, how it lingered on his lips for too long, and how his eyes softened when he spoke of her, like a man bound to a past he could never fully put behind him. Knowing that it was only a matter of time, Taylor's heart broke inward, like a vase on the edge of collapsing, rather than breaking with a bang in the silence that followed that realization. Perhaps mistakenly, she had thought that this time was different. That Ridge had really picked her, Taylor, the woman who had stood by him through storms, reared his children, and never stopped loving him even when it hurt, not because he had to or because Brooke had made one of her famous exits. But as the days went by, she started to notice the silent space in his embrace, the breaks in his assurances, and the specter of Brooke Logan that would always linger between them like scent on a scarf that has been forgotten. Taylor had spun herself tales she needed to believe in order to continue. Ridge was recovering. That they were constructing something more robust. Now they had history on their side. But she came to the terrible realization that history alone could not sustain love. Not with half of your partner's heart still buried in a past he wouldn't let go of. Everything changed during a dialogue that seemed harmless at first glance and innocuous in tone. When Brooke's name appeared in the story, Taylor noticed that Ridge had been reminiscing about a past event, such as a fashion show or gala. A spark. Too soft of a laugh. There was a warmth in his voice that wasn't hers. He wasn't even conscious of it, thus he didn't mean it. The worst part, though, was that Ridge had no need to make an effort to yearn for Brooke. It did it on its own. It was deeply embedded. Additionally, it was gradually killing Taylor from the inside out. She sat there nodding and grinning courteously as if she hadn't been witnessing her whole illusion fall apart in before of her eyes. It felt as though she had been renting a place in his heart that still belonged to someone else, as every personal whisper, morning coffee, and laugh they had shared in recent weeks felt borrowed. And Taylor, who had dedicated her life to assisting others in overcoming their suffering, was now overwhelmed by her own. She relived every moment like a movie reel later that night, by herself in her room, the way Ridge continued to keep that picture of him and Brooke in a drawer, the way he never corrected people who thought he and Brooke still had a spark, the hesitancy in his voice whenever Taylor used the word forever. Everything added up. Ridge was still in love with Brooke. And perhaps, just possibly, he would never be. Her eyes began to brim up with tears, but they did not fall. Not quite yet. Due to the fact that Taylor Hayes did not publicly collapse. She breathed through the pain, processed it, and internalized it until it was silent enough to endure. However, love was not survival. Furthermore, survival was insufficient. She had made such progress, she had worked so hard to regain her position, to think that she could be Ridge's true love without any restrictions or difficulties. Now that she was on the precipice of yet another emotional cliff, she had to decide whether to stay and continue acting. Or go with her honor intact, knowing that she would never really have him all to herself? She didn't bring it up in the morning. She avoided asking questions for which she already had the answers. Rather, she only observed Ridge's movements, his smiles, and his seeming lack of present moment awareness. And she made up her mind. She cherished him. She would. However, she had discovered too often that love alone was not always sufficient to keep someone around, both emotionally and physically. Ridge might be in her house, in her bed, in her life, and yet be in a completely different place. Alongside Brooke. With Brooke at all times. With each breath, the weight of that reality pressed down like stone on her chest. But there was also clarity in the silence of that pain. Being a second choice was not what Taylor wanted. Never again. Never. She deserved a lover who was whole and not broken. Someone who loved her thoroughly rather than just enough. As a result, she made the most difficult choice a woman like her could. She relaxed. Not with bitterness or rage, but with grace. "I see it now," she remarked quietly when she entered the living room the following evening and met Ridge's gaze. "I see her, still in your heart." Taken by surprise, Ridge attempted to hide the truth and reach for words to do so, but Taylor just shook her head. "You don't need to give an explanation. You adore me, I know that. I am aware of your love for her, though," she said, "and I can't be in a triangle where only one of us is still spinning." Her voice wavered, not because she was weak, but rather because she had the strength to say goodbye to the guy she had spent half of her life with. Perhaps for the first time, Ridge realized the toll it had taken on her and stood stunned. "I don't," she said. "Please. Don't use promises to try to remedy this. We've done that much too often." Taylor turned and left the room, as well as the position she had been in for too long, after saying, "I just need you to be honest, with yourself, if not with me." The faithful one. The backup. Everything but her own heart could be fixed by the therapist. She was picking herself now. And even though it crushed her, she knew deep down in the calm after the storm that it was the right decision. Because knowing when to let go was perhaps the greatest act of love, rather than clinging on.